Welcome back to Tall, Dark, and Moderately Handsome with me, Alejandro, Alex Rudy. No reason to really use aliases, I guess. This is episode 4. I wonder if you're looking at this and have something completely different in your mind when you see the title. I just thought it would be the coolest name for a podcast. Get your attention. Tall, Dark, and Moderately Handsome? What is this about? But if you're listening so far, you know it's more of a little personal journey type deal, dealing with being unemployed, moving through life, figuring out things at the age of 55. Oi. So this past week, with regards to the job search, it's kind of dry. I did one Amazon ACX audition for an audiobook, which is kind of like this military Christian romance novel. I didn't even know that was a thing. There was a scene where there's dudes talking, and then in a scene where the main guy is kissing one of the women in the story. Like, okay. For one interview I had, which was by phone, the prep was very weird. You had to do these assessment questions. You know the ones I'm talking about, right? I had to... some of these are just ridiculous. How on earth do you answer these questions? Here's one, and it always is you have this choices of always true, mostly true, sometimes true, and sometimes false, mostly false, and always false. What does that mean? Well, it's always false. Mostly false is like, well. Mostly true is also like, well. And what about sometimes true and sometimes false? I think a lot of things in life probably fall in that category, right? Here's some examples. I had to take screenshots of this. I hide my feelings. Who the hell cares? Others respect me. Okay, throughout my life, I have kept up with my peers socially. Whoop-de-doo, right? What does that have to do with anything? Here's one. I am easily discouraged. What business is that of yours? We all get discouraged. It's called living, right? What is that? I find life boring. Well, if you answer mostly true or always true, you're not going to get a job. So don't. Sometimes you have to lie, guys. You're not going to say, "Oh yeah, I agree, life is boring." No one wants to hire you. I argue with people I care about. Seriously? What business is that of yours? Here's one that you must not answer always true or mostly true. I do just enough work to get by. Yeah, you got to lie on that one. If you really do that, you got to lie. I have initiative. I like that one. I knew someone that said that they pronounced it initiative. You got to have some initiative. Initiative? No. My moods change? What is up with that one? Of course they change. I'm a human being. That is so ridiculous. Who writes this stuff? I'm able to manipulate others. Well, you definitely don't want to say true in this. Unless you're applying to become a politician. Haha. I worry about what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. You gotta lie on this one, folks. Because if it's true, you can't let them know that. You know, I mean, the story is true here, and I'm sure with a lot of you, you're trying to find your place in this world, but on an assessment, you gotta lie if it really is true. I wonder what people are thinking about me. That's a very important life lesson right there. You definitely need to get past that one. It is a hard one to swallow. It really is a hard pill to swallow. As I think I mentioned, I was a sheep instead of a shepherd, so I was constantly thinking about what others thought of me. Or even like, yeah, in all kinds of ways. Like, why didn't they pick me? Does she like me? I am aggressive. That's a really strange one. In some jobs you want someone who's a little aggressive, but then you have to define what aggressive means to you. Is it someone that goes after what they want and doesn't care who they step on? Or is it someone that takes charge and brings you along and helps lift you up? All this one page here. My temper gets out of hand. Do not answer true on that one. I am jealous of others. Do not answer true. Now, I break rules. Maybe if you're applying to Burger King, you may not want to say false on this one. Because, sometimes you got to break the rules. That was one of their slogans. Here's another bizarre one. I am not interested in abstract ideas. What? Where is this one coming from? What is that supposed to mean? That's too complex. I think you're digging in too deep to just hire somebody. And here's the final one. Do you love to daydream? Probably shouldn't answer true on a job application assessment, but daydreaming is a very helpful tool. Some of your best ideas could come from that, just so you know. But there's your little smattering of those assessment questions. So bizarre. I did see a documentary called Persona, all about those personality tests. Like, it seems a little unfair that they have to ask this stuff. Why don't you just give me a regular application, bring me in for an interview, and then I will answer those things in person? But I did have a phone interview with the company that had those assessment questions. Let's see how it goes. I have 2 others coming up. One is at another school. It's for a paraprofessional. I have never heard of that job title, and it's basically a teacher's aide. Okay, I could be a teacher's aide / assistant. It is rather funny that most of my interviews have been in the field of education. It's really peculiar. Is the universe trying to tell me something here? I mean, I'm not trying to get jobs as a teacher per se. The one woman I met at the job fair was sending me information about getting certified, but I just can't afford to pay for the certification now because I am unemployed. But it'd be an interesting idea to explore. How would I teach a class? Something I have to push aside for now. Maybe bring it back up later. Who knows? But it is funny that the universe keeps sending me back to schools. Actually, I submitted another application for a job I already interviewed for at the same school. See if they'll want me this time. You never know. I was also contacted by the Career Source place about getting a grant for IT training, stuff like that. I didn't even know this was a thing. But you have to do a few things and do an application, which I thought the application would be 1, 2, 3. They asked me, like, tell me something about yourself. How would you benefit from this training? Like, oh my goodness. And they want a copy of your driver's license, your social security card, your birth certificate, and your selective service form? Like, I don't have that stuff. The latter, I have my birth certificate somewhere, but the selective service thing? I don't know where that is. I guess I have to look that up. Seems very involved. I didn't think it would be, but we'll see how it goes. I mean, it would be great to get all that training for free. I'd like to have some other skills in my pocket so I could apply to other places. I actually saw on the Mel Robbins podcast, she was with someone giving tips about job searching, and they said, when they ask you, tell me something about yourself, say, okay, I'm going to give you 2 professional things and 2 personal things. Or maybe 1, narrow it down to 1. But I like that. You can give them a little balance. Going back to the schools, I still haven't heard about my library position. I actually went to the Pascual Hernando College library, but it was closed. Bummer. I was hoping to check it out, get the lay of the land, maybe speak with someone. But I'm taking some initiative. And actually spoke to my ex-coworker, who was the other cashier who worked with me. And she gave me the electric company. Like, I didn't even think about applying to them. And she was unemployed before she started working at the clerk's office. She was unemployed for 10 months. Ooh, we are not having that. I'm already just past 2. And that's been going on long enough. And it brings me to some pain points here. It's something I think I would like to add because my mind is a jumble. I've been going through some despair, depression. It's like, man, I'm not trying to tie my identity. The job wasn't me. It wasn't my passion, but it was bringing in income to pay for the essentials, the mortgage, food, electric, those things. And man, it's really exhausting looking for jobs. Like I said, I applied for 130. Something's got to give. But man, some days I'm okay. Some days it just gets me. I even thought, like, I've tried life out. It's not working out for me. Have you ever gone through that one? Have you ever heard of Part X? I've learned this from a documentary with Jonah Hill and his therapist, Stutz. That's the name of the documentary, Stutz. And he brings up Part X. It is the dark side of yourself. The one where pain and misery and depression live. But it is part of you. You can't get rid of it. So you can address it. Say, hey, Part X, what are you doing here? What are you trying to teach me? What's going on? You want to chill out or relax, or what's going on here? So you have to address it because it never goes away. But if you're aware that it's there, it does help a little. And then also, let me see. I found some other things that were kind of from videos and whatnot. Some things I just wanted to address in these pain points. When life pulls the rug out from under you, you can either stay stuck in pain or decide to change your relationship to it and reimagine who you are becoming through it. That kind of goes back to Part X. And this applies to losing someone or a job. You're not just grieving what you lost, you're grieving the identity that defined you. And until you see that your value isn't the label, you'll keep feeling lost. Like some people, you wanted to be a professional athlete. That's all you dreamed of. And then you have an injury that ends that. And that was your identity. Now you don't know who you are. But you got to remember that there's more to you than that. And this goes to the next one. If you define yourself by what you do, you'll feel broken when it's gone. But if you define yourself by why it matters, you'll always find new ways to express who you are. So maybe that person could become a coach or a sportscaster or something else in the field, or a trainer. You just have to pivot. Not easy. Your mind spirals because it craves certainty and control. But chasing answers to unanswerable questions only traps you deeper in loops that feel productive but aren't. Yeah, I know that. You want some guarantees, don't you? I know I do. If I do X, I want Y, Z, I want this to happen, but you can go to that interview, you can do that audition, but it's out of your hands after that. And you think you can predict how you'll handle change, but you're forgetting one thing: you are changing too. And the future version of you will have strength you don't yet see. So that's a challenge right there. You don't realize, the other side of it, there may be this positive outcome. Which is something I can bring up in a little bit. And one other pain point was Mother's Day. It's not as horrible as it was the first Mother's Day my mom was gone. But it's still rough. I miss her. And I made videos. I always have my cameras ready to record when I go on vacations to family and any place. I don't know. For me, if I don't have a video camera, if I'm not recording it, it's like the trip didn't even matter. It didn't even exist. Seriously. But I'm glad I recorded it. It was 2018 was the last Mother's Day I got to spend with her. Not knowing. So I'm glad it was just us hanging out and having dinner, but it was still special. Still miss you, Mama. Wish you were here. Moving right along to the creativity part of this podcast. I did do my radio show in honor of Mother's Day, playing songs only by women in music. And my show is called Maximum Tunage, and I go by DJ Al X. This was show number 136. Yeah, I've done this a while. It came out good. Should check it out. I have it on my Substack page, so check it out. Came out good. And on the writing front, I continued writing this Fight to Save the Universe story with my character Cal Rexton. He's kind of my Han Solo, but there's more to him. Like I gave him a little more of a backstory, and then pivoting with a character in the story called Robella. I had her as something else. She was kind of like this android that I think I was inspired by DC character Platinum and Marvel character Jocasta, and they made her look just like him. But here I have her as a human, and she's helping him out. He was rescued by her people, but he starts uncovering some truths about these people that took him in, and it's stuff that Robella didn't even know. So she has to deal with that too. Moving right along, I published the last episode of Season 1, Episode 8 of the Upstarts. It's on there. I am working on the outtakes. There's lots of them. There's about 9 minutes worth of outtakes. I didn't know. But I'm doing the artwork for that, making my characters giggle and be silly in different ways. There's been some nice inspirational cues from the universe. Tortoises. We have gopher tortoises here in Florida. And I've seen them almost every day. But one particular day I saw 2 in within minutes of each other. I know it's not the same tortoise because I saw one and then a few minutes later I saw another one way up. They don't move that fast. But, I like looking up what does it mean symbolically, spiritually. So seeing 2 tortoises on the same day is generally considered a powerful, positive omen of accelerated stability, balanced partnerships, and impending success, often reinforcing messages of patience and grounding. It typically symbolizes a twin blessing of longevity, wisdom, and the fruitful, slow and steady progress of your efforts. Well, let's get going. Tired of waiting. I know. Is the universe trying to catch up to me and all that? All right, let's go already. Come on. In other forms, I saw a really interesting video about Stephen King and his writing process. In the video, it mentions him doing excavation. So in his first draft, he's digging into this world, almost like you're doing an archaeological dig. You're dusting off things to find out about these characters. He likes to work with them first and make them form the world. And oftentimes he gets criticized for his endings because they just seem like, huh? I've never read a single Stephen King novel, but I've seen some movies when he says that's how the characters wind up. And yes, characters do take on a life of their own, but, well, I can see where he's coming from. But this outlining has helped me. I just need like a guideline to get my characters from point A to point B, at least for me. At least when it comes to fight to save the universe. I need my displaced characters to have their little adventure, meet people, interact with them, maybe grow a little, and then get beamed back home. So that's working for me. But that was a good video. On a completely different front, I saw John Wick Chapter 4, finally. And what just got me is that Keanu started this franchise in his 50s. When you think back to people like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, Jean-Claude Van Damme, when they were approaching 50, their action careers were pretty much over. I don't know if it's because they were these bigger-than-life guys, all these muscles and stuff, and Keanu was fit, but it wasn't like his thing. Like Arnold, you had to see him in a tight shirt or shirtless with all those muscles he had. But as these guys got older, it became kind of a joke, like, okay, they're in their 50s. Not that you should diss people in their 50s if they got muscles. But here was Keanu in his 50s starting a whole new character, which eventually became a successful franchise that people latched onto. And it was a risk. If you see the documentary Wick is Pain, you learn so much more about it. Because you see the movies and you're like, oh, these are great. It's a no-brainer. But at the time, Keanu's career was kind of just there. And then this revived it. And it just really made me inspired in a way like, here I am in my 50s. Anything's possible, right? And then the other day, I finally saw Michael. The Michael Jackson movie. It was pretty good. Even the younger actor playing the younger Michael was amazing. He had those James Brown moves down and the voice. And then when Jafar Jackson, who is incidentally Michael's nephew, plays him, whoa, he had his moves, his mannerisms down. It was like you were seeing Michael live, and seeing it on a big screen was awesome. It actually got me a little misty-eyed. I mean, I grew up with his music. He connected to so many of us, regardless of race, age, gender. We loved Michael. And, man, you know, when his videos came out, it was an event. The world stopped. You had to see this video. It was because of him that I started watching MTV. I waited all day to see Thriller. Because you don't know when it was going to air. But throughout the day, I would see others like Cyndi Lauper, Madonna, Duran Duran. I'm like, oh, these guys are pretty good too. But going back to Michael himself, seeing what they showed in the movie, was that obviously his dad was a big pain in the ass. He pushed him, but he wasn't the most loving guy. And he was trying to stifle Michael's creativity, but Michael was pushing to have this creative voice and do things outside of his brother's band, you know. And it worked, obviously, from Thriller to Bad. And it's just amazing that there's one man mesmerized us and captured us so much. Just one guy, through his music and his performance. I mean, if Michael just did the songs, they'd be great. But if he didn't do the dancing and all that, he wouldn't have been as big a star, I don't think. But definitely check it out. And then I just saw a video series called The Person Who Believed in Me. It's hosted by David Begnaud. He had on Carly Pearce, who's a country singer. I'd never heard of her, but she's a big deal. But it was very cool to hear about her journey and the person who believed in her, was a guy named Daniel Lee. She had been toiling around doing showcases and putting her songs out to no avail, and he saw something that no one else saw in her and knew the real essence of what her songwriting and style were. And the rest was history. She put out the right song at the right time and got a career out of it. And so it just goes to show that she never gave up. But it's also nice to have someone on your side or a team that can support you. Even in Michael, he found a producer that wanted to work with him and make him the biggest star in the world. That was their mission, and geez, mission accomplished. And even Carly, there was a lot of sacrifice her parents had to do too, as well, but they knew she wanted to do this, and as a young kid, she wanted to be at the Grand Ole Opry. And sure enough, when she was older and in the business, she was invited to join the Grand Ole Opry by Dolly Parton. Wow. So many signs from the universe. What does this all mean, though? With Michael and her, if we're talking, even Kiana, there was a lot of hard work put into it. But there's also those moments when you're not ready, when you're not expecting it, when you're not going after it, that things start to happen. I mean, you got to put in the work. You're not going to be a singer overnight by just hoping. You got to practice. You got to know pitch and tone. Or if you're any other kind of artist like Keanu, I'm sure he had to get new fighting lessons going on there and get his body ready and his mind ready. It's being prepared. So when the opportunity does come, you're not just lollygagging in the wind. You're ready to rock. And be grateful when it comes. I'm sure I will be. It's going to happen. But it is very interesting when you're not pursuing it, that it will show up. I mean, a completely different note. In 2002, I should say. 2002, there was someone I really wanted to date. And I went on a date with someone really young. And it was just like, this is just not working out, man. I'm just giving up. And then my future wife shows up. I'm like, oh, here's this. What do I do with this? And it was just a surprise. I really wasn't expecting her to come into my life, and we connect that way, and it worked. That's 2002. And we're together in 2026. Amen. So be aware of that. Anyway, I think that's it, right? That's enough for this week. Whew. Well, I hope this brought something to you, some value, and maybe it's similar to your story if you're going through this. I prefer doing it this way. I mean, if you know what I look if you're on my channel, but I like to talk to you this way. Maybe we'll do a video someday. I don't know. But thanks for listening to Tall, Dark, and Moderately Handsome. All right, I'll keep you updated next week with my progress. Let's see what we can accomplish together. Help each other grow, right? From there, yes. And I'll see you next time. Until then, take care.